What's up, Taiwan? Good evening. I'm Erika Liu with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Indigenous residents in southern Taiwan are protesting over loud military exercises in their area. The Army has been test-firing rockets and artillery at the Jiupeng base in Pingdong County. Local residents on Wednesday held up banners and blocked the path to the beach firing area with quad bikes. They say they weren't properly consulted on the exercises and say the noise has affected their livelihoods. The Army says the local public was well informed about the tests ahead of time, and they will work with local village leaders and civic groups to find a solution. Earlier this week, a rocket misfired during the same series of tests, causing damage to its launch truck, but with no casualties. When the pandemic first broke out 2 years ago, activists and international leaders warned that governments would use it to crack down on freedoms. The Human Rights Measurement Initiative, which tracks countries' human rights performance, has released its data set for this year. The organization's spokesperson, Talia Kiwu-Roden, explains Hermes' assessment of the state of human rights in Taiwan.
Taiwan is one of the most high-performing countries for civil and political rights in the world, in our sample. And it does very well on most of the rights, but there is a blip. Taiwan still uses the death penalty, as you know, and most countries with high scores around the world have eliminated the death penalty. So the score for using the death penalty really drags Taiwan's overall scores down. Even in high-performing countries with good scores for civil and political rights, there will be inequities. And we see throughout our data set that there are particular groups that are missing out. And so some groups that were singled out in Taiwan include disabled people, Indigenous people and migrant workers who are all at greater risk than other people to not enjoy their rights and freedoms.
Tens of thousands of Taiwan's migrant workers have stopped showing up to work and have disappeared. As Jean Van Trieste reports, the promise of higher wages is one reason why many ditch their employers to find illegal work instead.
Taiwan prides itself in being at the forefront of upholding human rights. But there is one issue that has cast a shadow on its reputation.
蛮多的，大部分都是说季节性的工作啊，像农产品的工作，而是说工地啊。
According to Taiwan's National Immigration Agency, more than 60,000 migrant workers in Taiwan have stopped showing up to their jobs and are untraceable. That's roughly 1 in 11. On Facebook groups, workers are sharing info on possible illegal jobs. It's believed those missing have found new work. But as they've left employment tied to their visa, it's punishable by arrest and even deportation. And for many, those risks are worth it. Most of these jobs advertised pay better than the legal jobs these workers were hired for, and give them the freedom to choose what they do.
3万吧，没有破掉是17000。在这些里面，如果有人很啰嗦还是什么啊这样。
There are even jobs that pay more than the average $1,500 monthly wage that Taiwanese workers get. One runaway worker posted their pay packet online, showing they got $1,800 a month for cutting grass. The fine for working illegally is just around $300, and for many, that's just a fraction of what they can earn in what could be their last few months in the country. Migrant workers face tough conditions and long hours. They are also generally tied to their employers for at least 3 years and are not allowed to change jobs without their employer's consent unless under extreme circumstances. Rights groups have highlighted how the rules favor the employers and have made it difficult for workers to get recourse if the employment terms are abused. So for some, better pay and better conditions mean taking matters into their own hands. Damon Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The American Chamber of Commerce in Taiwan says the country must become more competitive. In its annual white paper published on Wednesday, the Chamber says Taiwan has too many unique industry regulations, making it harder to attract foreign investment. TaiwanPlus reporter Louise Watt spoke to AmCham President Andrew Wailagela about their white paper.
AmCham has long promoted the idea of a bilateral trade agreement. It hasn't happened yet. Do things look more promising this year?
I think they're much more promising. We haven't lost sight at all of that objective of a full-blown, very comprehensive and deep bilateral trade agreement or free trade agreement. However, we are very enthusiastic about the announcement on June 1st of the U.S.-Taiwan 21st Century Trade Initiative, which is not quite all the way to a BTA, but has the potential through the 11 areas that they're going to take on to be a very ambitious and broad agreement. So, as one of the American presidents once said famously, he wanted to trust and verify. That's the way we feel for both these two governments. We think they're off to something wonderful with the 21st century, but business is going to be watching them and continuing to press for a level just as high as a BTA.
You call on the Taiwan government to step up efforts to improve international competitiveness. How is Taiwan falling behind?
Well, it is making progress in many areas, but the rest of the world is moving forward as well. So Taiwan has to do everything it can to continue to attract inbound investment, and also to be present and closest to the largest and most important markets overseas. One of the ways I mentioned is harmonizations of rules and standards and regulatory practices in Taiwan, so that the practices that are common around the world are also in place here in Taiwan. When Taiwan sets up a distinctive set of standards or a way of regulating an industry, it makes it challenging for leading edge companies from the United States or around the world to work here and to tailor to unique practices.
Your members say they're concerned about the local workforce's lagging English skills and also a lack of an international mindset. Could you elaborate more on that international mindset that's missing?
Yeah, I think that's the point that sometimes gets left behind in the very admirable discussions around the Bilingual 2030 program, which AmCham supports and applauds the progress that the government has been making. But along with that process of improving technical skills in verbal or written communication comes the ability to think internationally. Again, coming back to this problem that we have encountered over the years with a divergent approach, with divergent regulations. Sometimes that comes just from a different conception of how we address problems. So the greater understanding, the greater internationalized workforce that we can develop in Taiwan, partly through just the local skills and talent, and partly through bringing in foreign talent, sending Taiwanese on assignments overseas and then having them come back, all will facilitate this ability to come to more clear understanding about communications, building the framework to conduct 21st century commerce.
That was AmCham Taiwan's President Andrew Wailagela talking to Louise Watt, Taiwan's top economic planning agency. The National Development Council said the government is focusing on issues noted in the white paper, including improving the labor market. The 4-day International Food Taipei Expo opened on Wednesday, showcasing products from 23 countries. The trade show boasts 3,000 booths from countries including Taiwan's diplomatic allies such as Honduras, Guatemala, and Eswatini, as well as other friendly countries. Lithuania is well represented at the event. Imports from the country have increased since Taiwan opened a representative office there last year. As well as food products, the expo also highlights the processes behind their production, ranging from making vegan meat to biodegradable plastic. Speaking at the expo's opening, President Tsai Ing-wen said she hoped the event would strengthen ties between Taiwan and other countries through food.
我要邀请全国的各地的民众一起来支持这些产品，让台湾跟民主盟友的互助的力量更强大，共同开创更多美好的成果。
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we leave you with images of International Day of Yoga celebrations in southern India. I'm Erika Liu. Take care and see you next time.